Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday morning to you all. I hope you guys are having a great start to your last Friday of 2023. And certainly, if you had yourselves a great week and having a great start to your last weekend of 2023. It's pretty wild. Time just zips on by, and here we are at the end of another year, about to start the beginning of a new year. Here to give you some updated information on what's going to happen weather-wise for your Friday. We'll break it down for you folks. We have some flakes that will be around for areas of the Mid-South. There's some flakes flying around for northern Arkansas, moving into western Tennessee if they're not already flying around right now. And some of this will drift eastward to the Cumberland Plateau. Nashville will probably see some flakes flying around, maybe rain-snow mix. And we'll give you some updated information on that. There's actually winter weather advisories for areas of Tennessee. So we'll speak on that. We'll talk about the Northeast and how we guys could have a wintry weekend somewhat for areas. I'm not talking about Boston to like New York City or anything like that, but we're certainly going to see some winter weather up in Maine, and then kind of interior sections of the Northeast this weekend could see some wintry weather, I think, flying around out there. And then some moisture is entering the western U.S., and we'll speak on that. Basically from California all the way to Washington is seeing some sort of moisture for certain areas. So we'll speak on that. We'll talk about everybody. And then we will give you updated information about what's to come. I'm watching multiple storm signals. One that is beginning to get pretty loud as we are getting into that like 4 to 5 day range. So this is getting kind of close. And there's another signal about a week out. So these signals aren't like 10 to 15 days out. I mean, I wouldn't say they're right here in front of us, but they're getting much closer. And in fact, models have really honed in on this the one that's closest to us. So we're going to speak on that. We'll speak on all of them just like we've been doing. And then I'll kind of speak on a little bit on what I'm seeing as we are getting a little bit deeper into January, as ensemble guidance is really honing in on a significant change across areas of the country. We're going to speak on this, and just remember, guys, none of this is quite a forecast. What I do here is we kind of look a little bit further out. We compare all the model guidance, and when models really hone in on one system, we start to break down the details of that system. We start to get it into what I call a forecast period, where we can start talking about what we could see, impacts, the track of it, things like that. So here to break down all the information for you folks, and we're going to do it the best way that we can. So with that being said, if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like, and if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below so I can pray over it and so others can do so too. Let's get rocking and rolling on this Friday morning. See if this is working. It is. We haven't started off with a water vapor loop in quite some time, so we're going to do that. There is the trough over the kind of the central to eastern portion of the country with the upper level low associated with it. If you look really closely, there's some whiter colors in here. That's the moisture associated with this upper level low, this trough of low pressure that is swinging to the east. So this is falling in the form of some cold rain, but there's a lot of snow flying around out there. Not a snowstorm, but there is some patches of light snow flying around this area of the country. This is going to continue to drift east and southeastward as this trough of low pressure continues to drift eastward. We got all this moisture. You can really see the white on your screen out here kind of surging into the western U.S., the west coast of California, Oregon, and Washington states. We got that, and then we do have some moisture up here in the northeast. This does have a cold front associated with it, so this is going to cool us down for the southeast, bring some around freezing and sub-freezing mornings for certain areas over the next couple days, so we'll watch that. But that's what's going on out there right now based off water vapor loop. Let's get this off your screen. I can't talk this morning. Let's keep rolling here. The radar, it indicates pretty much what I circled pretty well. You got some moisture up here in the northeast, the beginning stages of a winter weather event up here in New Brunswick, the northern half of Maine, even some snow up here in eastern Canada is falling. But this is a pretty warm system, for this time of the year, even for northeast standards. You got some just rain showers around the northeast. There's not really a great directional flow out there, so they're just kind of developing and hanging out in one general area. And then we have this upper level low energy bringing its own cold air, enough cold air, some snow flying around here in Illinois, sections of Indiana, Kentucky now. Even where you see this green, this is falling in the form of some snow here in northern and really northeast Arkansas, kind of like what we talked about in yesterday morning's video. It's pretty much materializing. And this energy will continue to swing into Tennessee, maybe even northern Alabama, maybe North Georgia, and then eventually into the southern Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina, Tennessee, certainly the Cumberland Plateau, West Virginia, Virginia, eastern hills of Kentucky, and all those good places. You see the moisture surging into the west coast. Not a whole lot for California yet. We will see more of that increase as we get deeper into time throughout the day today. But moving into the Storm Prediction Center, there's not much to speak on. Some of this moisture could be in the form of some storms in the California coastline, a little bit inland, including a very small section of southwest Oregon. Not a big deal at all. No severe weather expected. We continue to dodge severe weather besides that event that happened a few weeks ago in Tennessee. But the risk of flash flooding is pretty low, just a marginal risk in the green out here in California. Watches, warnings, advisories. The thing that really sticks out on the screen to me is the winter weather advisories in Tennessee. So they're confident enough to drop those winter weather advisories. And they think, if you read the discussion, and we will here in a second, they think maybe as much as 1 to 2 inches of snow could fall in areas of the Cumberland Plateau. So we'll speak on that here in a second. Got some freeze warnings down here in southern Mississippi, in the Bayou of Louisiana. Winter weather advisories up here for central and northern Maine. Not enough to get winter storm warnings or anything like that. As of now, just winter weather advisories. Got some fog and the dark gray colors out here in the winter weather advisories in the Sierra Nevada. We got some wind advisories out here. That is wind advisories, ain't it? Don't want to see. Yep, wind advisories out here for the western coastline. So let's talk about the southeast first, and we will include Tennessee, Kentucky, and the snow threat in this area time frame. So we keep this going. You see on the HRRR model, I don't think the HRRR model is doing the best job of indicating this, but we will take a look on Weather Bill. I think it'll show the moisture a little bit better, but just taking a more broad look at this at first. And we do have some showers breaking containment, getting into the Piedmont, North Carolina, upstate of South Carolina. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sleet mixed in with this, maybe a flake of snow. And we do have some moisture trying to sneak into northern Georgia this afternoon. It'll be pretty chilly. And, you know, if you're in the higher elevations of northeast Georgia and North Georgia, I think there will be some flakes flying around later this afternoon, especially this evening. And you kind of keep this going. A little bit of moisture kind of moves in north of Tampa, between Tampa and the Big Bend region of Florida. A little bit of moisture trying to surge its way into Mississippi. I think that this is displaced from the cold air aloft, though, but could get some flurries. And, you know, for my folks in northern Alabama, hold tight. I'm going to show you a better version of this HRRR model run that will give you guys some hope in like Huntsville, Florence for some flakes later on this evening. And then it shows the snow starting to develop here in West Virginia, where I think you're good for at least a few inches of snow between now and the next 48 hours. A closer look at this, though. Much closer look. We're starting off this morning. If you're confused about the time frame, if you're in Central Time, back this up 1 hour, because this is in Eastern Time. So it's 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Central Time. So, I mean, this morning we already got some snow showers trying to enter, you know, the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee. But I think more arrives later this afternoon, this evening. You know, getting to about midday, you got some rain, snow showers flying around in Kentucky, Lexington, Cincinnati. I think could see it up here in Louisville. I think it's possible for anybody. Bowling Green's going to get some snow showers later on today if you're not already beginning to see it by the time you're watching this video. Getting into this afternoon, here it comes. The energy swings down to Tennessee, Nashville, rain, snow shower mix. Look at this blue showing up in North Georgia. I certainly think that's possible well north of Atlanta. And I'm not going to rule out a stray snow shower, some snow flurries all the way down to Atlanta. You see it a lot with these kind of systems. I would not be surprised one bit. Would not take me by surprise. But snow flying around in western Virginia, some flurries starting to fly around in West Virginia. Saying Western Virginia and West Virginia is always kind of a tongue twister there. But some snow showers, flurries, light snow flying around in areas of Kentucky still. And then as we get deeper into the evening, I wouldn't say deep, it was 7, 8 p.m., I think the snow could pick up in intensity in West Virginia. Well, watch this little area right here in Northern Virginia. Cold rain could shift to maybe a burst of maybe some wet snow. We'll watch up here near Charlottesville, things like that. But Lexington, snow showers flying around. And then as we're getting into about 9, 10 p.m., check this out. Some heavier, kind of more compact, well put together snow begins to fly. And I think as the sun sets this evening, this last burst could add some snowfall accumulations for the Cumberland Plateau. I'm going to zoom into this here in a second. And, you got some snow flying around the Smokies, maybe the Gatlinburg area if you chose this weekend of vacation. If you're heading up there today, the mountains, I definitely think if you get higher up there, kind of tucked in closer to the Tennessee border, you'll see some snowflakes flying around. West Virginia, snow begins to pile up, and we just keep this going. And this could last all the way through tomorrow morning. We could still be dealing with this. One last push of energy moves in, and we're waking up tomorrow morning with still some snow flying around the northern Cumberland Plateau and then the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee especially. A little flake action showing up here in northeast Alabama. And I mean, even, you keep thinking it's over, but I mean, it starts to snow pretty heavily tomorrow morning in West Virginia, and you could have another last push all the way till about midday in Tennessee. So this is kind of a longer duration, very light event, but they're pretty confident this is not going to add up to much. But they're throwing you a bone in the Cumberland Plateau, saying somebody could sneak in an inch, inch and a half, 2 inches of snow. I could see people getting more, especially as the sun sets later tonight and the snow continues to move in these areas. I definitely think a little bit more snow than this could add up, and we'll see if they'll increase their forecast. But I think this is a good forecast for West Virginia. A few, maybe several inches of snow could fall in the higher elevations, and anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of snow in the mountains, the higher elevations, like probably above 35 to 4,000 feet. We'll see some accumulations for sure. But a little bit closer look, and I know this is small, but they don't have a great graphic out right now from the National Weather Service out in Nashville. But there's the winter weather advisories. Not quite in Smithville, might get extended to this area, but this Cumberland Plateau county is right in here. Crossville, Jamestown. I don't know any towns right off the dot in these counties down here, but you guys are the ones that have winter weather advisories. And if you read the discussion, it says down here, total snow accumulations of 1 inch with locally higher elevations up to 2 inches possible. So this includes all those counties right into there. So freeze that if you need to, but this is also available on the pretty much on the internet. But the Northeast today, so you guys let me know what you see in the Mid-South today. I would love to know. But we're getting some winter weather up here in northern Maine. You guys up there, if you tune in, let me know if you're seeing this. Getting into this afternoon, I think some freezing rain will shift more so to snow in northern Maine, Caribou. It will start to finally cover up that bare ground up there that I think you pretty much have. I think a couple weeks ago they showed a measurement, and you didn't have any snow on the ground, which is unreal for Caribou, Maine, this time of the year. But here we are. The Northeast, this is a warm system, so this is just rain showers for the most part. A little bit of flurry action back in Ohio. I think you'll have a better push of maybe some snow flying in Ohio a little bit later tonight. And there it is. It's showing up on the screen right here. But as you continue, just some kind of heavier bursts of snow throughout this evening in Maine. And I think as some cold air tries to catch up with this, I do think we'll kind of get some lake-enhanced moisture. It's, some back-end cold air moves over these Great Lakes region. And I do think, the wee hours of the morning tomorrow morning, Buffalo, the Finger Lakes region, Southwest, sections of New York, even Western PA, Ohio, of course, West Virginia, we'll start to see a period of some light snow as you're waking up. Another secondary low develops, and the winter weather cranks up again for areas of Maine. So another last push of snow for you folks. And as we're getting into tomorrow evening, I think we just could have a wintry weekend, not like a full-fledged winter storm, but some flakes flying around. I mentioned a couple days ago that, you read the thumbnail and it says we're going to enter a pattern that supports more winter weather. More wintry pattern is coming, and this is it. This is it. I know this isn't a lot. I know people are like, Mitch, I saw somebody say a big winter storm for the deep south are coming, but this is our pattern change. This is sort of our stepping stone, and I mean it's pretty much unfolding the way that we kind of thought it was. Now I will totally admit, I'm not gonna blow the smoke or anything like that. I thought this would look like a little bit better of a pattern initially than what it's showing, but here we are, and what I'm about to show you after we get past today's forecast kind of backs up my original thinking, and a lot of people's original thinking, because it's not just me. It was a lot of people that kind of thought the same thing here. So let's continue to roll here. Now, snowfall between now and tomorrow morning, a few inches of snow in northern Maine. Okay. Now, some dusting amounts, half inch to 1 inch is possible interior northeast. But as we move another 24 hours, so we're 48 hours out now, half inch to 1 inch of snow showing up. Not a lot. And I know, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., all the way to Boston. It's like, when are we going to get snow? Hold on. We'll see what we can get here. But, you look up here in northern Maine and, pretty okay event. Not much, but this is not a big event at all for you guys as standards up here. Freezing rain, I think that there's the possibility for a glaze. Not much. And in fact, I think they just decreased. Yes, they have decreased the forecast for ice. I think it's because the ice that is falling right now, but an additional few 1/100ths of an inch of ice is possible in central Maine. So we'll watch out for that. The south central U.S., besides what's falling in northeast Arkansas right now, and we'll take a look at that. This is the radar out of Memphis. There is reports of, rain-snow mix in Batesville. A little bit of snow falling north of Mount Olive. Just reporting rain here, just north and northeast of Jonesboro. We don't have any reports out of Memphis right now, but there's some blue showing up. Not sure if this is falling in the form of rain or snow flurries. We're not quite sure. We don't have a report out of that area. But anyways, we keep this going. This moisture, by the time we get into midday, will leave northeast Arkansas. And really, all in all, it's a pretty quiet day across the south central U.S. There's nothing really going on today besides that little bit of moisture in Arkansas and Missouri right now. So we go up here to the north central U.S. Last little bit of moisture will pull south. And then I will watch a little bit of moisture, cold enough for southern Ohio, not for Michigan, because the main pool of cold air aloft is to the south and west. But just some rain showers in Detroit, northern Indiana, Cleveland, just rain showers. But you get a little bit further south when you're closer to that cold air aloft, eventually you can change into a little bit of snow down here in Ohio. You see it kind of moving down here, and then we could wake up tomorrow morning. How much snow could fall from this little push? Not a lot. Somebody might, if you're a winter weather fan, get lucky and get 1/10 of an inch of snow or something like that. Not a whole lot at all. The western U.S., big system will move in. Some of the moisture's already moved in now, but as we are getting into midday this afternoon, big push of moisture moves into northern Cal. Not a whole lot for western areas of Washington. I think this is more so confined to Oregon and California, but some moisture will later this evening move into Washington State. But this is just a gigantic line of just moderate to heavy rain, higher elevation snow. So this moves in, kind of fizzles out somewhat as it makes its way into Nevada. But I definitely think central Oregon, central Washington could get some moisture, and then enough to pop off that winter weather advisories in the Sierra Nevada, especially as we get into tomorrow. So how much rain between now and Sunday morning? Not a whole lot. Definitely nothing you guys can't handle out here. But, as we kind of move into California, definitely a good bit of moisture in central and northern California. And as you can tell, the snow begins to add up for the Sierra Nevada. Well, we haven't really seen a big event here in the last couple weeks. So, 1 to 2 feet in the higher elevations, several inches in the kind of the mid-level elevations. If that makes any sense, but yeah. Temperatures in the east. We are chilly right here across the Ohio River Valley on the mid-south. Highs just in the 30s and 40s. Southeast, I think it'll get a little bit warmer than what this is showing today. I don't think it's only going to be 46 degrees in Columbia, for example. I think we will get into the 50s, but it will be a chilly day across the southeast. It'll be breezy with a cold front moving in through certain areas. Northeast, you're a little bit cooler than yesterday, but still above average temperature-wise, I would say. We are definitely getting a below average air mass that is now settling into the southeast. It's not very below average, but it's a few degrees below average as far as low temperatures and high temperatures. You're warming up in the west. That's why this system is so warm. The valleys in California, very nice. Las Vegas, not bad at all. Phoenix, not bad at all. It continues to be well above average in the northern portion of the country. So moving past today, what's next? First thing I'm seeing right here in the short term is some northern stream energy that will fly down. You folks in the Great Lakes region have not seen much of any snow over the last few weeks. I don't think this system coming in is going to be a big system. Let's just use that word, a big system by any means. But I think this will swing through, deliver some light at times, moderate snow as we're getting into the middle portion of this weekend, last weekend of the new year. And I think some slight snow will fly around the UP of Michigan, Wisconsin, heck, even, Green Bay to Milwaukee, Chicago, waking up the morning of the 31st, New Year's Eve. I think some snow will be flying around with this kind of system that's digging down almost like an upper level low, this upper trough that's kind of reinforcing itself, the low pressure embedded here. And then we're kind of getting, into New Year's Eve evening, and I think there'll be a lot of snow showers flying around. I think Chicago, you could have not a huge event, but maybe some snow showers flying around for your New Year's Eve evening. Tongue twister there. I struggle with those, but show some light snow over areas of northern Indiana, Michigan. A little bit of snow here in northern and northwest sections of PA. And this continues, and this will kind of deliver another burst of snow as we're waking up for our New Year's Day for West Virginia. This isn't going to deliver a whole lot, guys. It's really not. I'll be interested to see how this looks like as we're getting into our short range models. But, as we're getting into the morning of the 1st, which is right around the corner, some snow showers around New Year's Day. And so this might kickstart a little bit of lake effect snow energy off, Lake Michigan, but not a big deal at all. So how much snow off this system? Well, the blend of all models says not a lot. Dusting amounts, 1/2 inch to 1 inch. And I know you're thinking, what's the point of even talking about this? But I think it's worth talking about just because we haven't seen hardly any snow lately up here, especially Ohio, Indiana. I definitely think some areas could get enough snow to coat the ground, make the ground look white. So we'll see what this does as we get into New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Not a big system at all. Could add additional snowfall accumulations, especially for West Virginia, as this piece of energy swings right now into West Virginia, which is super favorable for northwest flow. So the next system, I have my eyes on this one, guys. Really do. I'm going to start off by looking at the vortices. Here's your piece of energy. Here's your piece of energy. I'd be a lot more excited about this if we had just more cold air. We don't have a ton. We're dealing with marginal cold air in this pattern, but there's a lot of energy flying around. Even marginal cold air for late December, early January, in this case, early January, it works for a lot of people this time of the year. In fact, you can have above average temperatures, and that's still cold enough for winter weather for certain areas of the country in early January. A lot of areas of the country. We just saw a blizzard happen with above average temperatures across the middle of the country. So just goes to show you that, when you see the kind of the warmer colors and the cooler colors, doesn't always mean everything. But here we go. And we're just looking at the Euro from overnight. All right, Euro has these two systems kind of in sync. This southern stream energy is lagging a little bit behind this, but that's okay. And we continue and watch how they interact with one another as we are getting into the evening of the 3rd of January. Not too far out, guys. It's about 4 to 5 days out. Even a little bit kind of closer to us than that, if we count the beginning stages of this storm system. All of a sudden, they phase together, and we start to get a bigger system. You see how they kind of combine into one? Little boost up here, trying to inject some cold air into this. And then this turns into I wouldn't say a significant storm system. I wouldn't say that, but it turns into, a moderate storm system, I would say. All right, so what does this look like as far as the surface? And here's another big piece of energy coming right behind it. And we'll talk about that here in a second. What does this look like as far as rain or snow or ice? Well, here it comes. The Euro, you can see the two pieces of energy pretty well on the map, just looking at the surface reflection out here. We're getting into the afternoon of the 3rd. There's our time frame. Just some light snow up here, not a big storm system down here. And this is a pretty decent Gulf low down here for the deep south, just bringing rain, a chilly rain for certain areas. And this continues. This begins to combine with one another. This northern stream energy injects some cold air into this. And yes, for my folks in the deep south, this is not the winter storm you hope for. This is just rain. Even the low isn't taking a very favorable track. But even if this low took a better track down here, I think that you would take away the moisture up here. And yes, you would inject more cold air into it, but you probably wouldn't get as much moisture this far north. So this isn't one of those systems that, we're looking for the perfect setup for the southeast. And really it all points to the fact that we just don't have a lot of cold air right now. I've said it many times, the Pacific really obliterated our cold air source in Canada, and the fact that we have no snowpack in the Midwest, the northern sections of the country. But this is kind of the beginning stages of that. We're trying to get that back, and we still can get winter weather events without that snowpack. So this is getting into the overnight hours of the 3rd into the 4th. The time frame will wiggle around. Okay, so midnight of the 3rd into the 4th. All right, low pressure going right over South Georgia. It's cold enough up here for areas of Tennessee, mountainous regions of the Southern Alps, even Ohio, for snow. And this would be heavy snow. And you keep this going, low, going right over the Carolinas at this point Thursday morning. Certainly not a favorable track for areas east of the Alps. And this is a whopper of a snowstorm. I wouldn't say feet of snow, but this is this is decent for what we've seen over the last year and a half, which is not much in this area, even in the higher elevations. But this hits, the mountainous regions pretty good. I mean, even outside. I mean, even bring snow in Ohio. Guys, when I show you this, please do not leave that conclusion in your head. Like, Mitch is showing you the blue over here. And guys, this isn't very far out, too. It's only 156 hours out. And I'm about to show you the GFS shows a very similar setup. But still, we're not in that forecast territory. We're trying to sniff this storm out, and we are, but we still need to figure this out. So please don't look at the blues on, say, if you're someone like around the Pittsburgh area, okay, or you're somewhere in Knoxville and seeing blue over here. Please don't tell everybody and your cousin's uncle's brother that it's going to snow next Thursday. That's not what we need to do here. It sends out the wrong message. That's not going to keep me from not showing you these model guides because they're accessible to the public. You guys could see them if you wanted to. I could say, hey, I'm not going to show you this until the cows come home. But if you really want to see it, you can go find it. I mean, it's easy. It's on forums. It's on Twitter. It's on social media. But what I try to do a little bit differently here is I try to show it to you, but explain what's going on. Explain the variables, the energy going into it. So that's very important to me. Don't want to just show it to you and say, hey, you're likely going to see a major winter storm and then just head on out and not tell you anything else. It's not what we do here. So we keep this going. Enough of that. I'll get off my soapbox. I'm sorry, guys. Low right off the coast of the Delmarva. But you notice there's just not a big push of cold air. I mean, it's even struggling in the lower elevations of western West Virginia and southeast sections of Ohio where you're not in these higher elevations. And you're struggling in the I-95 corridor. This would indicate another cold rainstorm for you folks in the Northeast. But it's a solid low. It's a 988 low. But we do not have that big-time cold air source yet. I think it's coming. I do. But this is a heavy hitter for the interior Northeast area with some backside northwest flow. So this moves on out and, gives areas of Maine also a big winter storm. We keep going. We look at the GFS. What does it show for the storm signal? They now agree. It shows it. Northern energy up here, southern energy down here. Okay, there's the snow breaking out over the higher elevations of the southern apps. This is a pretty big hitter for eastern Tennessee. I would argue, even though it shows blue over the Tennessee Valley, I would argue it's probably rain. It's just how the GFS depicts moisture. And we keep this going. Yes, it's just rain in Georgia and the Carolinas. And guys, I know I've said it a million times. Just hold on. Hold on as we get a little bit deeper into winter. I really think late January, February is going to be a time frame we need to watch out for. Hold me to it if you want. That's fine. That's just my personal take. But we keep going here. And we're getting into Thursday morning. All right, it's snowing pretty good in Virginia, West Virginia. We keep going. It's almost cold enough for snow in Washington, D.C., right near Baltimore. But this does not phase until much later. So therefore, it's not a big event for the Northeast. When you compare that to the Euro is a much bigger event for the Northeast, right? Just not. So this heads on out. But I can tell you, this is trending towards something. The Euro was the first to show it, a more substantial setup yesterday afternoon. Double downed on it last night. Okay? So, what about the Canadian model? I don't show this much, but, since it agrees, I'll show it. The Canadian model has a cold bias, so, it's trying to show winter weather pretty far south. I don't believe that. I don't think there's enough cold air with this. But it does show a nice track, shows it's cold enough moisture to throw snow into North Georgia and the mountains of North Carolina, Tennessee. There's a lot of northern stream energy up here, and there's a lot more cold air on this model run. So you have light and moderate snow just flying around everywhere in the Great Lakes region, Ohio, and the interior sections of the Northeast. This comes up, but it's a miss. It really starts to strengthen after this starts to head on out. Okay? But there is some decent cold air. I would say a pretty nice shot of cold air over the Great Lakes region. You got light and moderate snow flying around the interior Northeast, and it is starting to get just cold enough for the sections of even closer to the I-95 corridor. It heads on out. So all three models show it. The two major models, the GFS and the Euro, show it. So this is getting closer. I think as we get into tomorrow, if they are really still honing in on something, we now have a storm system to really track. Okay? Now, What about the signal? And I'm just going to look at the European ensemble. I don't like that. I'm starting to really not like the GFS ensemble. I just think that it's skewed. It's not, I just don't like it. I think the European ensemble is one of the best models to look at. I really do. So this is showing up in 24-hour increments. So this is not an entire 360 hours worth of snow off the ensemble run. It's showing it in 24-hour segments. And if you'll notice up here, it's still going in 6-hour increments, but in general, this is like 24 hours because it keeps the previous 6 to 12 to 18 hours behind it. So what I'm trying to show you here is that signal for the storm we just broke down. And here it is. It's not heavy, but it's there. There's the system. Getting in a Thursday morning, all right, there's that ensemble signal for a little bit of snow. I think this could increase. When we keep going, it's the highest in the southern Alps up into West Virginia, and then you see it in the Northeast. I know that's not a blockbuster signal by any means, but that is your winter weather signal right into here. Okay? For everybody else further south, away from the cold air, just prepare. It's El Nino. You got a lot of rain coming. It happens in El Nino. You get a lot of misses until you finally hit. What about after that? There's another one. Here it is. The Euro has enough cold air with it and we're taking a broader look. We're getting to Friday morning. So you can see this system pulling out on the Euro, right? And there's another one coming up behind it. And guys, we're not 200 hours out anymore. We're like 6 days out. And here comes this other system entering the screen, showing snow for Oklahoma. That's not a forecast. It's not a forecast, guys. One run of the Euro. We'll see if it holds. Bring some snow into Arkansas Saturday morning, January 6th. And then it starts to just suppress the south. Now you notice there's not a whole lot of energy up here linking up with it. There is pieces of energy, but it's not going to link up with it really in a great timing. Pretty nice, vigorous piece of energy of northern stream up here in Canada. But you keep this going, there's no connection. Nice energy up here. And I don't like this system. I don't. Now, I could be totally wrong, but the Euro likes it. I think that we're going to be lacking cold air with this even more than the first one we just talked about. But you know, the Euro says, hey, you know, this, let me back it up, moving too slow. Saturday afternoon, the 6th, a little bit of winter weather, just cold enough in northern Alabama, Tennessee for some winter weather. And then we start to get into the southern Alps region, and it's kind of snow for those same similar regions, but it's a little bit further south. I mean, look at this. You get a little bit closer. Talk about the southeast. But it's pretty far out, guys. Now, this is starting to get into an area that's far out. What we look at, the reason I show you this kind of stuff, because some people would argue, Mitch, why show it? You know, it gets my hopes up. Guys, everything that I show you, please don't let it get your hopes up. When you see this stuff, there's a reason I'm showing it to you. I'm showing it to you because I'm showing you the pattern and how it's evolving. The energy around, just enough cold air to do something. And this is what I've been showing you kind of the last week while we've been kind of building up to this pattern. A lot of energy flying around, okay? That shows a moderate winter weather event for areas of North Carolina and Virginia. Then it heads on out. And then you lose the cold air, and it immediately just turns into a low with rain. So that looks funky already. The GFS, what does it show? GFS shows that same similar system. It looks like the low is going to cut inland, and that's exactly what it does. Okay, throws a little bit of winter weather for Arkansas with the upper level low behind it. Winter weather entrenched into the favored areas of the mountainous regions, but it's all rain for everybody else. And, you know, it's a warmer system, strong low, okay, as we get into not this weekend, but next weekend. Strong low, but it's just a warm system, not a lot of cold air. You see how the 540 line's all the way up here? Not a lot of cold air, guys. Really isn't. So what about the signal on that for snow? Well, here it is. There it is. I mean, it's pretty decent. You see it on the European ensemble. You see how it increases right into here. That's your signal for that second storm. So we'll watch. And I'll tell you, you know, the National Weather Service likes that system, the one we just broke down, more. It has, and this is kind of an experimental thing, but these are the experts. This is the Climate Prediction Center. First off, you know, they're liking a lot of rocky snow, Sierra Nevada snow. But it does have a slight risk of heavy snow between the 6th and the 7th, basically up the spine of the Appalachian Mountains. It likes this. So it likes that second system. So we'll see what happens. Going past that, guys, what about the pattern just in general? what we know here is it's not a great pattern. I think it would be a better pattern if we didn't have such a terrible December regarding wind and weather and cold air. But we did. We kind of obliterated our cold air source. So we keep this going, you see these big blue blobs down here? That is just areas of storminess, low pressure. The warmer colors is ridging. So you keep this going, and there's that big system that we just broke down. You see it down here, but there's no real connection of cold air. One thing that the models are absolutely loving, and they have for the last 3 or 4 days, is a huge trough digging out west. This is right at 9 to 10 days now. When it first started showing, it was about 12 to 13 days, but we have worked this all the way into about the 8 to 9 to 10 day range. Big trough dipping down. There is a cross-polar flow. There's a connection to the Arctic up here. Look at the blocking, moving over Greenland, over areas of the Arctic. This is dislodging cold air, and there it is, a huge jet dip all the way down to the western and central U.S. This is likely going to bring cold air. I know you're thinking, Mitch, it's too far out to talk about, but I'm going to talk to you about what I'm very confident in, and I'm very confident in this. I am. Big trough digging out west. Now, what I'm not as confident in is how much it bleeds east. So we start to get closer to 300 hours out now. Okay? Is this really going to be how it evolves? If it does, expect winter weather chances for anybody across the board. But I am the most confident in this huge trough digging out west, and I think some Arctic air could spill down into the western and central U.S. With this is going to create a boundary over the middle of the country. You see the blue, and then you see shades of yellow. I think this is going to create a boundary between Arctic air and just not mild air, but not very cold air, somewhere over the middle of the country. I think that boundary will be a jet, and I think that's where our storm systems will track, in my opinion. And you can see this boundary set up off the European ensemble that, first off, I'll mention, it's going to stay below average, even for the southern U.S., even before this digs down. But look at our cold air source region, Canada. It's cooling down. Colder than average temperatures showing up. You got anywhere from 10 to 20 degrees below average starting to show up here in northern Canada. Our cold air source is cooling down. And then the western U.S., look at that. Colder than average temperatures. Yes, the eastern U.S. is starting to warm up. I think there'll be kind of a second or third week warm-up for the eastern U.S. But there's a boundary. And it's not showing up very great right now. I could pull up these long-range operational runs, which I don't really want to do, and show it better. But there is a boundary between colder than average air and above average air right here. That's where I think a storm system is going to come up. And in fact, this is another, I don't look at this a lot, but this indicates lower pressure on your screen, kind of like what I just showed you, but it's a little different. Lower pressure, this indicates just flat out lower pressure and higher pressure. And as we are getting, and this is the European ensemble, and as we are getting into the 9 to 10 day range, there's our lower pressure dropping into the western U.S. And then look how this area of dark blue, which is lower pressure, a storm system, shoots across the country. So to me, that is a strong signal for some sort of big storm system as this big cold air dumps. So what does Mitch mean when I say some kind of big storm system? I mean that if I had to take a shot at it right now, I would say somewhere across the central portion of the country, see some sort of significant storm system. I think on the colder side, that could be a major winter storm. And on the warmer side, it could just be a lot of rain, maybe even a severe weather threat. And I think behind this, there'll be a cold air push that makes it all the way to the eastern U.S. that introduces a new and better pattern, and I think a new and improved pattern because we have cooled down our cold air source. Folks, I hope that makes sense. I know that the comments were a little feisty yesterday morning, hopefully a little better this morning after this video drops. But I know that it's hard to take 40 minutes out your day to watch these whole videos. I know I'm just assuming, but I'm saying it because I used to do the same thing. I know a lot of people just kind of skip to certain portions of the video that shows blue over their house, but it's important to understand how this all works together. And I'm going to try my best to do things to improve, to explain these things, maybe not talk too much on things that I'm not very confident in, and figure this one out for you folks. You guys have a wonderful Friday, and I should have you guys a video this evening. God bless.